I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and this event is so important that I even bothered to start the live stream on time today. In about 5 minutes, we're going to witness the finals of the 2025 Latvia Online Carcassonne Championship between Jānis Ancens with a screen name napalmeye and Krišs Kauķis with the screen name Krisna. So both of these players have already been featured on the channels, two of the strongest players in Latvia, and Krisna in particular, one of the strongest players in their world at their peak. So Krišs, of course, is the 2024 Mind Sports Olympiad Grand Prix gold medalist, in addition to his other achievements, such as multiple I don't remember if it was 2 or 3. I think it was 3 Latvian national titles and a peak rating of over 800. Currently, of course, at a modest 626, but over 7,000 games of experience, as you can see. napalmeye, the captain of the Latvian national team in international events as of 2025. Also one of the strongest players in the country, of course. They are an expert with a peak rating of 650-ish, currently at 614, which is very, very close to Krisna, so we are expecting a close match. Overall, Jānis had a wonderful season so far. Their most recent international achievement is reaching the quarterfinals at the 2025 Carcassonne Champions League. And in addition to that, winning some important jewels in team events at the World Team Carcassonne Online Championship, at the European Team Carcassonne Online Championships. So 2,000 game of experience, slightly lower win rate than Krisna, but also we know that napalmeye doesn't really play in arena mode, so his average opponent is a little bit stronger than Krisna's. That was a rather efficient intro. I don't really have that much more to say, except that maybe we can have a look at the championship overall. 13 players to start with, distributed across 4 groups, so it had, all your usual suspects, with some new additions, a couple of players who haven't been there before, a couple of players who have improved their rating and achieved expert rank this year. I'm thinking of Zone 222, I'm thinking of Ancens, and then after that, 8 players qualified for the playoffs, where Krisna had some tough opponents. So the usual teammates, Dirty Old Town, formerly known as Margots, that is Uldis Ozoliņš and Norbert Strautiņš, who lost to Krisna in the semifinal and has now taken 3rd place from Ancens in the championship. So Krisna managed to deliver a clean sweep there, and napalmeye had also a flawless playoff so far by defeating Apple-G and Ancens in the semifinals. The finals that was going to start in 2 minutes is going to be your usual best of 3 format, as is the case for most national online championships. And as it is the case for most national online championships, the winner gets to qualify for the Carcassonne Champions League, and the 2nd and 3rd place finisher, so either napalmeye or Krisna and Norbert's 9-6, they qualify for the international qualifier to the Champions League, so still a chance to make it into the big event in early 26. Alrighty, so now intro's done. Let's just wait the 1 minute until the match starts. I'm wondering what's that about. Oh yeah, so this is just the table that has been created. We have the usual time format of a 3-minute time bank plus 45-second increments per turn. So we should expect most games to be concluded within the next 90 minutes or so. Now, we know that Jānis is a player who likes to take his time. Krisna kind of average speed, maybe more on the slower side as well. Has very spectacular styles, in particular opening multiple incompleted cities for various reasons that just somehow end up working out. Hi, Glavier. And this sort of creativity, of course, requires deliberation. All right, now it's 1600 UTC, 1800 Latvian time. And both players have joined the table, and away we go. Napalmeye, playing with his blue traditional meeples, is the starting player. Started a 6-point city, started a 2-point road. Krisna, of course, with the usual response of a little road at the bottom, trying to create some vulnerabilities in this here square. And wait, also, let me just double check. Can you even see my drawings? If somebody could confirm in the chat. I'm a bit paranoid about the quality of the stream as usual. Krishna starts a new city at the top, and Napalmeye tries to break it. Krishna with his traditional red meeples. Oh, no drawings. Okay, let me just fix this one. This should be quite easy to fix. Yeah, there we go, already. Thank you, I appreciate Glavier for noticing. Hi, Craft Giraffe. Alright, so Jānis starts a new city because his older city got obstructed. It looks like the fate of these here two meeples are tied together, unless, of course, blue draws this here splitter tile to separate these two cities in the future. Krishna now with another city cap, and I knew that would be the move that is very annoying to deal with if you're blue, because of course red starts a new city, but at the same time brings this here blue road into this vulnerable square. Only 2 tiles in the entire deck are left to fit there, and probably when red is going to complete the city, will create a further platform to block the square. And then the plan for red is pretty clear. Try to connect these 2 cities, or maybe try to block this here square in the future, and then gain a meeple advantage, making sure that these here 2 blue guys are trapped in comparison to only this here 1 red guy. Krista now gets on the scoreboard by completing a 4-point city. That was a quick response to 2 road points from blue. Blue completes his city to take the lead on the scoreboard and also protect this here square a little bit. Krishna with a very interesting tile now. So, of course, it goes somewhere in this here area. Now, there is no need to really go over here. It's not exactly obvious whether this is the move or this is the move, but Krishna chose to go over here just to prevent blue from getting one of those splitter tiles and liberating his 6-point meeple. Now, the most likely outcome is that red is going to get here a splitter tile, sorry, not a splitter tile, but something like a Dorito or a quadruple city or a triple city, and then connect these 2 meeples into one big ruin, and this here guy is going to be blocked, or will he? Because Jānis just so happened to draw the dagger tile that fits into this square, and I believe that this is where it should go. This meeple will still be vulnerable, but then it is much, much easier to free up this sort of restriction as opposed to this sort of restriction, right? So if we go here, then a road monastery would be fantastic, of course, here for 6 points and finishing this here road. A straight line would be absolutely wonderful. Although wonderful could be a bit of a stretch. It would be okay. But yeah, looks like blue is doing just fine here. I'm a bit worried that Jānis hadn't made the move yet. I think he's trying to assess whether this is even worth it. At this stage of the game, saving a meeple is absolutely worth it. And look at this, Krishna drawing the last dagger and using it to attack the shared city. Now from both sides, trying to get the red majority. Jānis, of course, swoops right in. There's likely going to be parity on the city, so 2 meeples per side involved. Now finally Krisna finishes an existing city instead of starting a new one, which puts him into the lead. And an interesting tile for Jānis. So ideally what he wanted to do, he either wanted to get a tile that goes here immediately, or at the very least something like one of the two remaining T crossroads to go over here and cover up the road from another side. Now he doesn't get a tile to protect this square, but he does get a tile that could protect it indirectly. In fact, if he does it, then I believe they're only... Oh, no. You gotta be kidding me. I was gonna say there are only 2 tiles left with which Krisna can block this meeple. And this is very, very unlucky for Jānis, of course, that red drew just the one of the 2 remaining daggers that fit into the square for a permanent block. This 4-point meeple is never going to see the light of day. Red's meeple comes with a farmer, and that's already quite nice for red. It's a 6-point farm with some potential to expand in this here area to get the 3rd city for 9 points. Many more green squares for further development, and I think Jānis did not find the strongest response. So this move makes perfect sense tactically. Your opponent meeple field, me meeple field in response, right? But we gotta take into account the situation that this here poor guy is already blocked, and so we want to avoid big field fights as far as possible. And if I'm blue, what I try to do, I try to keep the field contained if I can, or maybe at the very least force Krisna to invest another farmer so that he builds a field with 2 meeple instead of 1. Or maybe as blue, I try to go here and I try to block this square, banking on the absence of this here quadruple road tile, since it's already used up. This move, again, all these moves make perfect sense. I'm just, from Jānis's perspective, a bit worried that there will be no compensation for this here lost meeple at all. So I really, when I'm down a meeple, I try to avoid playing balanced positions. Balanced positions meaning that we have equality on most features. I really try to create some sort of imbalance, some sort of asymmetry that maybe, you know, I do one thing and you do another thing and I just do my thing faster. But Jānis went for the tactical choice, and he did get a reasonable tile, actually. He did get a monastery. At this stage of the game is pretty good. If he can get a couple of those real quick, then maybe he can just catch up on the scoreboard and be ahead. But in the meantime, red had secured his meeple on the left. It will be almost impossible to block it, so blue should really brace himself for impact here in the long term. Starting a new road for now, which I'm not a huge fan of for red. I guess there were just not many better moves. As red, I think I would have just gone over here. Just try to play a bit of disruption against this square. Actually, I think it was a bit stronger. The reason why I'm not a huge fan of this move is that because it looks like it's slightly restricting blue's monastery, but actually what it does, it creates a wonderful 5-point monastery square that blue can take advantage of. Also, like, having 2 open roads is not great in a position where neither side has an abundance of meeples, because 4 meeples out of 14 meeples available are already tied in this here battle for this ruin, which is probably going to end up with equality. It does not look like a red is going to have the luxury of meeple abundance. Glover is saying, it always feels odd to fight for a field when we have a permanent meeple minority. Yeah, agreed. That's his... exactly my concern here from Jānis's perspective. Because, like, the field now makes sense, right? It's worth 9 points, it has green squares, but it didn't have to be that way. There are certain scenarios. So let's say if blue were not to fight for the field, if blue could have used this tile and, like, place it... Whoops, what's happening with my mouse? Yeah, he could have used this tile and place it over here, basically, instead of attacking the field, shutting off this part of the field, and leaving this guy, if not stranded, but at least asking this farmer a question whether it has it in him to develop the farm in the future. At least it would have forced Red to spend considerable resources on that farming augmentation. Now a very interesting situation which Krisna is thinking about for a long time, and rightfully so. A strategic decision here. We can see that Blue invaded Red's city from the top, basically just making sure that we have two separate cities with an equal number of meeples, so all these points cancel each other out. And then the big question from Red is, do we go over here and do we try and connect to this ruin and overrun it completely? And Krishna answers no, and I believe that he's correct. I believe that the way you win this game for Red, you just let this ruin be. If Blue chooses to invade this ruin, they can have it. They can have the 20 points or whatever it's going to be. They're going to be playing at even more severe meeple disadvantage, and then this will allow Krishna the chance to do what he's now trying to do, which is complete this city, drop a farmer, and then gain the majority on the field through either of these here two routes. How is Blue supposed to respond to this? I have no earthly idea. I think maybe just getting a monastery point makes sense, like here. It does feel odd to drop city cap into a shared field when we have the meeple minority, and when we have the meeple minority, we are likely to lose the field in the long term, so we want to keep it as small as possible. But then, where else does this tile possibly belong? Yeah, that is interesting. Just starting a new city. Unfortunately for Blue, it is not quite going to work out, as Red is just going to finish his road and obstruct Blue's city a little bit. Or maybe Red wants to pre-finish this road instead. No. Oh, look at this. So Krishna chooses to even meeple this here city, which should give Jānis a sigh of relief, because now he doesn't really need to be bothered too much about the safety of this meeple. He just needs to get any triangle tile to connect these two meeples like this, and then he's going to be fine. But then, if Blue gets a Dorito tile and Red gets a Dorito tile, Red can go over here in the future, try to win this city outright, and a great move from Jānis, trying to prevent exactly that from happening, whilst also building up his monastery, and Red gets a lovely tile to continue his city and threaten the completion thereof again, which I believe forces Jānis to make the only reasonable move. Yes, he's forced to add 2 points to Red's city, but just make sure that it is not getting completed imminently. Krishna now ahead already 10 points on the scoreboard as a result of this 3-point road, and he has one additional location where he can recover his meeple, which is of course from this here area with one of the 5 remaining crossroads. Napalmeye doesn't have that many options. Ideally what he wants to draw is some sort of splitter to go over here and then get this meeple back, and then try to maybe block one of these here 2 squares, try to leave Red stranded. Another option, of course, is to build up this area, which is Jānis trying to do. And then maybe we get to add further points to our opponent, and then we either invade their city or block it. It's an uphill climb for the player with the blue meeples at the moment. Let's see how Krišs responds to this. So, first of all, it is not clear in whose interest it is to block this square. On one hand, this square, of course, this is what I mean. So, if blue goes here with a straight line, then blue can enjoy a winning mini battle with 8 points over here for the monastery versus like 5 or 6 for the city. And we know that this is not going to happen, and Krishna prefers to just have the threat of completing this city still available to him. And you know what? It's quite a serious threat, because I think now napalmeye needs to go here, start breaking some things, creating platforms for possible breakages, going here, maybe trying to restrict this square. Actually, I think going here to restrict that square a little bit, or going here to start pressuring this here square in our opponent's road would be strongest. Instead, he goes and creates a blocking platform from a different place, which on one hand makes sense, but on the other hand is not really necessary. The reason I'm saying this is because there are other blocking opportunities. So have a look at the unusual tile distribution. Do you see these 1, 2, 3, and 4 triple city tiles? So all 4 triple city tiles are already on the board, which means that we can go here with a Dorito tile, and we can block this here square toward the triple city, which no longer exists in the deck. So there already exist blocking opportunities on the left, so there is not much value in creating further blocking opportunities, because they're simply not needed. Both sides exchange monastery dumps at the top for different purposes. Of course, Krishna is trying to block this here square, preventing napalmeye potentially from drawing a splitter to free up his meeple here. And Jānis, of course, protects, allowing for this splitter tile to still be drawn. Now, it's interesting how Krishna responds. I can see several moves. The most logical one for me is just to go here. Yeah, exactly. We add 1 point, and we create another blocking platform against the square. And now, even if Jānis does draw a splitter, like even if he gets this here tile, then that would be a big risk for Jānis, because it would suddenly open the opportunity for Krishna to draw another city cap himself and finish an even bigger city. So let's see how the former champion navigates this, and he chooses to make something that I don't really like. I don't really agree with that move. I think Krishna is trying to perhaps overvalue the threat of completing his city next to this here monastery. I maybe would have preferred something just over here, but look at this. He is now really making a lot of progress, and he's going to make me eat my words. So basically, the city has now been covered up, and it can be completed with a starting, sorry, not a starting tile, but a vanilla city cap in this area, of which there are 2 remaining. And either one of the 2 remaining road Doritos, regular Doritos, sorry, or one of the 2 remaining splitters. And then from Jānis's perspective, he must draw a Dorito or a splitter ASAP to go here and block the square towards a non-existent triple city tile, which I mentioned before Red can accomplish his plans. So it is possible that I underestimated the threat that Yellow had, but so did Blue. Look at this move here earlier. If only Blue had put this tile over here, as I was suggesting, then this here move from Krishna, this here city cover-up, would not have been possible in the first place. So it's a subtle detail, and now it looks like Krishna is going to have himself a fantastic time. Of course, this tile goes over here, and it will leave him with a 75% chance of completing the city, waiting for one of the 2 vanilla city cap tiles. And he is not doing this, and it makes 0 sense to me. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? I think I understand why. It seems to me that it is just absolutely not worth doing. So here's the logic of Krišs. What he wants to do, he wants to make sure that Jānis cannot draw a splitter himself, because if Jānis draws a splitter, then there's some scenarios how this here 4-point guy gets out and this here 3-point guy of red gets stuck. But from red's perspective, there is actually still one more tile that fits into the square. So if blue were to get the splitter tile, that would not be so bad for red, because red would still have a chance to free himself up. And I think the reason why red chose to do that, he perceived that he's ahead. Well, actually, he is ahead. He's ahead 6 points on the scoreboard, and he has a meeple on the left, which can still be recovered. And Krisna's idea here was just to prevent the utter disaster. So he's playing in a very risk-averse manner, which could be appropriate for his lead. And we get to find out that he can sort of have his cake and eat it too. He now got himself the city cap tile before getting blocked, and there are still 3 tiles into the square, namely 1 Dorito and 2 splitters that fit there that would allow the completion of the city for red, which is absolutely amazing for red. Yeah, blue has abysmal odds to win this game. I think it's around 10% at the moment. So he absolutely needs to draw both splitters and the road Dorito, and the regular Dorito, sorry. And I think that should allow him to win. Yeah, now Jānis seems to be tilting a little bit. You see, he has only 1 meeple to play with, and he's starting a new road. And this road does make a lot of sense, because the idea of napalmeye is, of course, to do something like this, and like this, with a bunch of curves, and get himself an 8-point road and a meeple back. The issue that I have with that is that it is a bit too slow, and Krisna could really inflict damage on this here road. Or Krisna could just not do nothing and simply keep building things. Like, he could just take 3 points over here, he could just continue his road, get it out of harm's way, yeah. Or he can do this, which is incredibly annoying. And so that's why, from Jānis's perspective, I would have played the same move, but I would have left this road empty in order to give myself some more flexibility. Now Jānis is in an unenviable position. He has no meeples. He has only 2 tiles left in the entire deck to recover a meeple from this here road. And so he chooses to finish a shared city to give a meeple back to himself and to his opponent. Krišs takes a couple more points. Jānis, of course, continues his road, which gives him more option to finish this road in the future, but it says quite promptly that Krišs Kauķis gets himself a splitter tile, finishes himself a, what was that, an 18-point city and a 4-point tiny city for good measure. The 9-point monastery for blue is not going to compensate that. 22 points ahead on the scoreboard, an extra meeple to play with. I don't really think there's nothing much that blue can do, but blue should keep trying. Jānis is known for playing until the end. So I think our best chance is to score points. Duh. Like, we go here, and we try to very, very promptly draw 2 road ends to get this meeple back and to get this meeple back. And then when we do, we try to find a way to somehow invade the field. For example, it's even still possible now, like we could go here, drop a farmer like this, and then we can try and hope for the last vanilla city cap, perhaps, or a road monastery to sort of invade through this here area. This, of course, is quite risky, as it would be quite blockable with a giraffe tile, one of those, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one of the 3 remaining straight lines. So yeah, no really good field invasion opportunities. I think as blue, we just take the 6-point road on the right. I mean, it is quite a big road. I think Jānis is doing this a bit prematurely. Yeah, this is a reasonable invasion, despite it being very risky, but I probably would have preferred scoring first, invading later. Now, it's also interesting how you want to play this as Krishna. Let's assume that our opponent does successfully invade the field, and then they get 18 points. Well, 18 points is fewer than 22, so we will still be ahead on the scoreboard, and we're still gonna have meeples extra. So I think, from Red's perspective, we just allow the invasion to happen, and we don't do nothing much. Our options include just peacefully continuing our road, or going over here for a 5-point city for future development, or even going over here, banking on the last tile to win ourselves a big ruin. So 2 points for Krishna without any further investments of a meeple. Jānis now has a Dorito tile, which probably is going to go somewhere here, trying to create some sort of blocking opportunities against this meeple. It's not quite obvious as to how we place it. I think we try and make a field restriction as opposed to a city restriction. So like we place the Dorito tile maybe with the field side down, or with the field side oriented. Let me say oriented towards the square, because there are actually quite a few road ends with a city tile available. There are 2 rose tiles available. There's 1 horse available. So yeah, quite a few options. Oh, thank you for correcting me, Ice Maze, that crossroads are all gone. I mean, the T crossroads, of course, which makes this move even more obvious. And Jānis eventually does find it. Also, credit goes to him. It's a counterintuitive move, because when you start the game, there are more city plus road tiles than there are field plus road tiles in the deck. And so everybody just gotten used to that. Pushing cities in your opponent's road is typically the best block, but towards the end, when the distribution of tiles is already skewed, then of course we have to adjust to the tile situation and do what Jānis did right now. Red starts a new city, which is a smart move because there's still quite a few city caps remaining. There's, of course, the 1 vanilla, 1 splitter as well, and there are quite a few, well, like there are 2 roses available, and there's 1 starting tile available. So napalmeye needs to do something fast about this. And I think what he needs to do is this here restriction, like that, with the field side, which again would be counterintuitive, not with the road side, because with the field side, it is typically the less potent restriction, because again, we start with more city plus field tiles than city plus road tiles. But in this here skewed distribution, there actually happen to be more city plus road city caps than they are city plus field city caps. Jānis, however, doesn't have a lot of time on the clock, only 15 seconds remaining. Now, he will have this time bank replenished, and look at this, he does not make the move that I suggested, but fortunately for him, he guesses right, and had he listened to me, then he would have already had his opponent finish the city. So, technically, sort of, kind of, hope is still alive for the play with the blue meeples, although not really. He will need to draw like a ridiculous sequence of tiles to win. One of them includes either the road monastery or the last city cap tile that fits into here. These are, of course, parallel city caps. Starting tile now goes to Jānis. What do we do with it? Oh, that's fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, sure. Why don't we invade? That's actually lovely. Jānis risks it super hard. I'm loving this move. And there's still one tile that fits into the square that's going to give him like 20 points. But Krišs, of course, gets himself the tile that is going to block the invasion of this farmer, though not quite. Napalmeye now gets the tile to connect to the big ruin. He's going to get himself, of course, the 20 points from here. And Jānis still has hope. If only he can draw a road end here and then a road monastery, then his farmer can still invade all the way around over here like this through the road monastery. And that is why Krišs does what he did right now. He chose not to complete his city. He chose to go over here in order not to allow road monastery to be drawn. But now Jānis has another option. He could go over here. Does he see this idea? And now he can try to invade the field through this here area. Are you with me? I believe that Jānis still has a chance to win this game. This chance is like 8% or something like this. But with the ruin and the field, he is going to have it. So I believe that if Jānis draws the last remaining rose tiles and the last remaining road monastery, that he should be able to win this game, and Jānis finds the right move. Krišs now needs to find some sort of a counterplay. Maybe he's going to take this here 6-point road. It looks right. It seems to me that the outrunning route is still the way to go, or is it? Maybe he needs now to block the farmer instead. This suddenly got real dicey real quick. Oh, thank you, Ice Maze, for confirming that actually it was a mistake here from Krišs. He should have turned the city cap to the right like this, of course, so that he wouldn't allow this sort of invasion that Jānis is now attempting. It's quite an interesting psychological phenomenon in Carcassonne, which often happens when you block a field. You can sometimes block one field connection opportunity, but with your block, you can inadvertently open a second field connection opportunity. It's no like, like it's in chess when your piece is attacked and you're trying to save it. You move it to a square and then you blunder because the new square has the piece attacked by a different piece of your opponent. You get what you mean if you play chess. Yeah, Krišs is now really thinking hard about this one. The main calculation that he needs to perform is to basically figure out, can he afford to win this game if he loses the field? And the answer to that is maybe, because I think something like this. So let's assume the worst. Let's assume that our opponent draws the road monastery and the tile that fits into this square. Oh, look at that. Krišs is now trying to draw the road monastery, but I think it was unnecessary. Jānis now, of course, is going to go here and finish his road and get a meeple back. And that will actually allow Jānis one more try for a field invasion. Krišs now gets a curve, which is now going to allow him to make a block. And look at this, it was just in time. Krišs with a clutch idea of prioritizing the blocking opportunity. But wait, doesn't Jānis have an invasion regardless? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ah, no, there are no curves remaining. I thought that maybe Jānis could go over here and drop a farmer like this and connect into the farm that way, but there's simply no curves remaining to make that happen. A sad, sad fact. Moreover, one of the two remaining tiles is a city cap, namely the parallel caps, and because this here little piece of city is now in this 0 points field by Krisna. Krisna is threatening to score 7 points on his last move by finishing this here city. Yeah, tough situation. I'm not sure what the last tile is. I think it's something like a straight line, maybe. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I think it's a straight line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the remaining tiles are a straight line and parallel city caps. And Krisna gets the parallel city caps. Although a lot of credit goes for Jānis for setting up the parallel city caps. He was setting up a 6-point move for himself, but he gets a 6-point move regardless. He finally picks up that 6-point road. Krisna gets himself the 7-point move at the top, and lovely game. It ended up being way more interesting than I thought it would be. And then now Krisna realizes that he made an imprecision with this here move. He's saying that he turned that tile in that way for the intrigue, basically. And look at this, just a 4-point difference. Just a 4-point difference. Which also makes me think that my suggestion of Krisna potentially outrunning the farm invasion would not have worked. It would not have worked just because that city here, that city of napalmeye, ended up being so big, 20-something points. Or what was it? Oh no, 18 points was the city. That's still quite big, right? So it's the same as the value of the field. Yeah, well, will you look at that? Overall, very high-level game from both sides with maybe minor imprecisions here and there. I felt that blue had better options of trying to restrict the city. It was very difficult to notice. This here move is very natural. It's just I think that going here was a little bit better and in fact would have worked in that particular instance, because that would kind of force red to need city plus field tiles everywhere. Alrighty. The second game has been created. They have not started their game yet. They did ask for a 2-minute break, and I felt that my yapping had filled that break already, but apparently not. Yeah, napalmeye has yet to join. Here you can see all the rules of the championship in Latvian. Alrighty, We're starting the second game. Krišs could clinch the title right here, right now, and he has the conditions for it. He's going to have the starting player advantage. Napalmeye is wishing him good luck and absolutely not meaning it. And Krisna responds in the same insincere manner. Curve is the first tile for blue. Not a great start. Let's gonna see where Jānis is standing stylistically now. Like, the most normal move is just do something like this and start a 2-point road. Some players like to do stuff like this and drop an early farmer straight away. It is a bit uncommon, but completely defensible. A road for Jānis makes a lot of sense, and look at this. Krisna gets a fantastic tile to continue his city building. Finally, a city tile for Jānis as well, which is also going to help his road. It is not obvious exactly which way is better. Yeah, this way makes sense. I quite don't see why the two options wouldn't be symmetrical. Maybe the other way around was a tad more precise, but it's actually very, very close. Krisna now plays it on the safe side, chooses not to open another city, but to cash the 8 points straight away. You know, starting with a 12 points lead on the scoreboard when your opponent only has 4 on the board is certainly a great start, and Jānis is now going to build himself a 6-point loop road. Trying to draw a curve before Krisna, who now starts a city in a way that also pressures 2 squares in Blue's road. Blue gets himself a loop and now drops a farm, which is completely justified. Of course, an abundance of green squares and 2, even indirectly 3, potentially 4 completed cities on the field if a curve is drawn over here, which is quite likely. Jānis is now probably going to have to do something like this and connect red farmer to his own, simply so that he would be able to finish his road, which he finally does, and gets himself 8 points on the scoreboard. So blue catching up a little bit, red of course with another extender, a fantastic tile, now threatening 8 further points. Jānis now should start a new city here, and this is exactly what he does. There's no reason to continue this city which is already existing. And this move for Krišs is actually not quite obvious. The standard move in this situation is to do something like this, to add a point to your city and also try to shield yourself from a potential attack. But Krisna chooses not to do that because this would allow Jānis to do something like this. Extend the city of red whilst also blocking it toward this square. Because mind you, 1, 2 out of the 3 dagger tiles have gone out that would fit into the square. And this now finally allows Jānis to go here and invade that city and neutralize this threat. But the reason blue has not committed to this play just yet is because it has its downsides. Such a move would open a attacking platform on the right, and red could go over here and then with 2 Doritos invade the city of red. And that's why blue chooses not to do this, but we see the downsides of that move immediately. Krisna gets to finish his own city yet again, have 8 extra points, and now Jānis is minus 12 on the scoreboard with not a lot of compensation for it. Sure, this city is fine, but it's still going to need 2 tiles before it can be completed. And Krisna now is going to use that monastery spot, which also happens to control the city. And he uses it when napalmeye had a monastery in hand. Oh, it has to be so frustrating if you play with blue meeples here. So he's going to settle for a 5-point monastery spot, but with this curved tile, Krisna is going to do something nasty. He could go here and try and block this square, not allow Jānis to draw a second monastery for a cluster, or he could go here, which actually is not that scary because Jānis has a fantastic tile for himself. He can now go over here and prepare himself this rose-shaped city, still for road Doritos available for him. This is exactly what blue is going to do, and red now needs to do something about that city threat. A move which I expect is maybe something like this, or something like this. We're gonna find out in due course. Yeah, so we see a new city being started, and Jānis now with a fantastic tile and an opportunity to turn this game around. If he goes over here and even drops a farmer, will he be dropping a farmer? Please drop a farmer. He's thinking about it, and yes, he does. Jānis finds the best move available for him on the board. He will be not only finishing this here city with a 94% chance, he will also be connecting to the field, and he will be picking up this 4-point road with his free meeple for good measure. Krisna now with a rather bad tile. It has a good use of restricting this here square. Napalmeye now with a good tile. He can score a little bit. He can get 3 points here. He can get 3 points here. He can finish his city. I think scoring 3 points on the right is the strongest, but let's see what Jānis does right now. Jānis decides to play it safe. Krisna trying to block the Monastery of Blue. And now Blue needs to realize that the blocking is not such a huge threat, and he does. Instead of defending, look at what he's doing. He's going for a counter threat. This is beautiful. Now Krisna is forced to finish the city and drop a farmer and commits himself to a 50-50 chance. There is only one tile that goes into the square, and of course, if Blue draws it, Blue ain't gonna place it over here. Now the plan for the game for Blue is pretty clear. He is now equalized himself on the scoreboard and then some, and then he wants to get himself a horse tile to barricade himself from the entry of this here field guy. It's now not going to be possible, as Krisna is now available to invade over here. Napalmeye with a lovely splitter tile for himself. He can now start a new city at the top. He can try drop some more farmers. Plenty of things that Jānis can do. He can drop the farmer at the bottom as well. He has the meeple majority, and he chooses to start a new city, which also makes a lot of sense. Krisna, of course, is going to do something about this. I suspect a move for Krisna is to go here, perhaps with a meeple, trying to make it a bit more difficult for this here guy to develop both the monastery and this here city. Well, I doubt there is really anything else in the cards for red. What, to go here to get 1 point? That seems awfully weak, does it? So now we have ourselves an equalish game. A lot in this game will depend on who draws the road monastery tile, the one and only. Hi, Tommaso. Thank you for the kind words. So Red is thinking about this, and I'm genuinely not sure which move is best. I probably want to go here to not only start a new city which controls my opponent's monastery, but also not allow Napalmeye to retrieve a meeple so easily. Then this will force Blue to spend a valuable city cap here, and then perhaps another city cap here. Blue's meeple here is going to be stuck for a while, maybe not much, almost as long as this here red guy. Red is going to finish this here road. We're going to be tied on meeple. It's going to be a rather balanced game. Napalmeye now probably has to go over here, although I would resent doing that if I were to play with blue meeples, because as soon as I place something in this square, this opens up a platform for red to attack this square, and it's not something that I'm really keen on allowing. But then if I delay this connection for too long, then red can go here and block the square completely, and then I'm going to be ending up here stuck with 1 point, whilst red's going to have many points of his own. So I think we do go here after all, but we try to go here like with the city side pointing down. It could be quite useful in many ways, and maybe not so easy for red to draw some sort of a blocking tile. Well, we'll see what Jānis decides. He could delay this move for a couple of moves. I think that's also quite reasonable. Maybe we just go here and wait what's going to happen for a little bit later. I would have preferred a different orientation because now it's going to allow Krisna this move, kind of blocking the square towards a road monastery and then basically banking his entire game on the road monastery. Yeah, it's a hugely volatile position. And Krisna, being the starting player, I guess, is the slight favorite to draw the monastery as we speak. But then the situation might change in the next move. And it's really like either red finishes his monastery and gets 8 more points, or blue finishes his monastery and gets 8 more points. There's really no in between. Blue now chooses to drop a third farmer, which makes a lot of sense. It can either invade that way or that way. There's also potential for a rather long road going through all these places. Let's see if Krišs chooses to drop a farmer of his own. I think he can delay that a little bit. We will find out soon enough. No, he instead chooses just to make himself the field connection. And from that, we see clearly that the plan of Krišs is to try and find a way to win the game, even in the event that Jānis draws the road monastery. And this task is not as possible. It is not impossible. If only red manages to get back a meeple soon enough, which he does, then suddenly he can leverage the temporary meeple advantage to his good. And even Jānis gets himself the 9 points later in the future, then maybe red can do something with his meeple advantage. But we also need to remember where the meeple advantage comes from. The meeple advantage comes from the fact that blue has already invested in extra farmer, and that's a meeple very well invested. And eventually, maybe not right now, but eventually Krisna is going to have to drop a farmer to equalize this field. It looks like not the type of position to play imbalances. There are 5 completed cities on this field for a total of 15 points. The field could grow even more. Napalmeye is now, of course, going to connect to the field, which seems like the reasonable thing to do, and we see this move being executed promptly. Krisna now with a lovely tile, and this is a strategically important tile. Now, we know exactly where this tile is going. There is no question about this. It's going here. We can quibble about the orientation. I think this one's correct. And the reason why this is a strategically important tile, because it gives him 1 additional point scoring opportunity. And let's say if he manages to go here and block this square, then this blue guy is going to be trapped with just 1 point. This red guy is going to have like 7 or 8 or so. And then, together with some quick points or maybe even the monastery, then he can withstand the field. So these extra points could very well mean that red does not have to attack the field in order to win. Now, I still would if I were red, but there are some scenarios how red can maybe win without the field. Jānis now gets a crossroad tile, and that's a tricky one, because the highest scoring move is, of course, getting these here 3 points. But it gives back such a juicy road up for grabs. So if we go here, our opponent gets a curve and they go here, and they have just 1 tile in addition that they need to get a 10-point, or rather a 9-point road going through all these here squares. I would really resent giving that back, but then is this really a position where I want to sacrifice points? And I don't think I do that. I don't think I sacrifice points. I think I just take the 3-point road on the left, and I just hope my opponent doesn't have a curve. There's some additional mathematical considerations for this, and we can see that Jānis goes for it. The idea is that if our opponent already has a crucial coin flip for them in the position, like there's this road monastery tile, then maybe if our opponent gets the road monastery and then we get this here long road, we can balance things out. So that is sort of this consideration. And with balanced things, then we're doing well because we have the majority on the field. Krisna now with a monastery tile, and look at this, the gamble of Jānis pays off, and Krisna chooses not to meeple the monastery, which makes a lot of sense. He, in fact, uses this monastery not just as a discard. So Krisna is very good at thinking long-term. And the purpose of this move is to set up a future field connection. So Krisna knows that the main field connection opportunity is at the top, and he might need to get a straight line, drop a farmer, get another straight line, or a crossroads or a starting tile and connect to the field. But Jānis also knows that, and with a move like this, for example, like right now, he could block that field invasion opportunity. And so Krisna in advance is creating field invasion opportunities for the future, and the opportunity that he's creating is going over here, dropping a farmer and connecting through the outside of a curve. There's still 2 curves in the deck. And this is a particularly strong move because I just noticed that all 4 crossroads, all 4 field crossroads have already gone out. And Krisna could even drop a farmer right now. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but he could drop a farmer right now to try and connect. Jānis just dropping city caps, which is a move that makes some sense. It creates an opportunity to get himself a dagger and to score for the field more, potentially. Actually, any sort of city cap would potentially add this city to the main field if a road monastery is drawn. And Krisna goes for the farm. Jānis is going to try and block the field invasion. The game could be decided in the next couple of moves. He takes 4 points and creates a severe threat of blocking this here square. Will Krisna be able to defend? And yes, he does defend. And this is so painful to deal with because not only it is a defense, now there's still 4 tiles that fit into this square, but it is also a complete block of this here square. So Krisna is now going to take advantage of these here points without leaving blue the chance to expand. Krisna now needs to decide whether it's worth to continue this city directly or indirectly, or maybe go here at the bottom and try to pressure the new road that Jānis managed to pick up. This is absolutely a justified decision to go for a 7-point road, which is going to turn into a 9-point road next turn. -7 on the scoreboard for the Mind Sports Olympiad gold medalist. So 2 curves plus 3 daggers. Ice Maze is saying in the chat, yep, that of course are suitable here. And 1 curve is immediately drawn by Jānis. So even more points and a meeple back. And now Krisna gets a city cap, which he cannot use productively. A bit of an unfortunate decision for Krisna there, as it was a reasonable decision to try and block that square, but it did cost him 2 points. Maybe Red is banking on the fact that there's still 3 triple city tiles available, and so he could use one of them to expand the city. But actually, if I were Red, I wouldn't be thinking about those triple city tiles too hard, because all of them are triple cities with the road, and with triple cities with the road, you can typically get value elsewhere, like 2 quick points for this here little road and so on. Alrighty, 16 points on the board, on the scoreboard. Jānis is ahead. Red is yet to connect to the field or yet to draw road monastery. City cap for blue, who is probably either going to drop it somewhere, which is what I would prefer, or just start a new city. I'm not sure exactly what is best. Probably what I want to do is go over here. Just drop the city cap. This would also create another coin flip for 4 points, which I'm going to be the slight favorite to pick up from Blue's perspective. And it would block the opportunity to drop a farmer over here, as we discussed before, as there's still 4 tiles to connect, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so overall, Blue is definitely the favorite. He has enough lead on the scoreboard that he could outrun the Road Monastery at this point. If Krisna draws the Road Monastery but draws the Road Monastery late, then Jānis is doing very well. And if Jānis draws the Road Monastery, then I think he just wins on the spot. Because if he can get the points for this area, together with his scoreboard lead, he can actually withstand Red potentially overrunning this field from here with 1 more meeple. Yeah, so Blue is suddenly in a very good position here. But Krišs has shown that he can do magic, despite being not Edjus. Edjus, of course, is his brother, who is in fact a professional magician. Straight line for napalmeye. It's a good tile. I mean, he cannot do nothing much with it, but it's a good tile because this is something that Red needed to connect to the farm. Yeah, you know, like, even if there are many tiles available, like 4 tiles for a connection, now it's 3 tiles, it still contributes to the win percentage, like the fact that your opponent still needs those tiles, because there are some situations where Krisna gets the Road Monastery but doesn't get any of the straight lines that fit into this square and just is stranded. And now the probability of such an occurrence has further increased. Only 3 straight lines remaining. Not a lot of productive moves available for napalmeye. I think some sort of discard. Yeah, that move makes a lot of sense. It's a very good move. Although, maybe there was a better move, but the idea of this move is that in the future, we don't want to allow our opponent to go over here and drop a farmer and win the field outright, because then this here square will be restricted and blocked. So that was the idea. But maybe as Blue, I would have gone over here, actually, just to prevent Red from getting himself a city plus road tile and expanding his side of the ruin by a couple of points. But I assume that Blue decided that this game is unlikely to be decided by a couple of points. Red is now trying to create an opportunity to attack the field, and napalmeye will be tempted to drop a farmer here himself. And okay, now we see a mistake, I think, from napalmeye. He blocks the field connection. No, he doesn't block the field connection, and that's why I'm apprehensive. Instead, he chooses to block the city threat, which actually also makes a lot of sense. That's why this move from Krisna was so strong. It created the opportunity for both a field connection and a city threat. napalmeye keeps munching on quick points. Krisna eventually gets a straight line and connects, and the Road Monastery goes for Krisna. And now a real chance for him to win this game right here, right now. Now, we know where that monastery is going. And he's going to have the meeple majority after it. As Krišs, I don't think we even meeple that monastery anymore, because this here square is permanently blocked. So Red is not really getting a meeple back, but I think a meeple might be more valuable than 8 points in this position. napalmeye had plus 11. The fields are now tied, but we also need to take into account these here 4 points that red has on this side. So +7 overall for blue at the moment. Whoever wins the field is going to get 15 points, so that will make them surge as +8. And this board is very dry. It's difficult to score 8 points with just one meeple. So napalmeye has 2 shots how he can win this. He can either keep the field shut and just try outrun his opponent, or he can try and get some sort of a quick point tile, a couple of those perhaps, that would allow him to get an enough lead so that he can afford his opponent overrunning the field. And Jānis is going to settle for the latter approach. He gets 4 points, and he tries to finish a sizable city, and it looks like Krisna does not have a tile to obstruct his city anymore. But Krisna has a quick point tile. He can score 8 points, 4 points in the shared field rather. And this is something that he's probably going to do. Jānis will then maybe finish the city, and this will mean that he's going to be even further ahead on the scoreboard, but Krišs is still going to be within range if he wins the field. 4 quick points go on the board. Jānis is still ahead, +7, but Krišs has the extra meeple. Jānis does not finish the city. And in fact, he does not have a really good move here. He's forced to discard a tile, essentially. I think going over here is an option. Perhaps going over here, although no, that would be dumb. Why would you do that? It looks like Krišs might be able to make up the 7 points. 35 seconds on Jānis's clock. It's not enough to calculate all the remaining tiles. We also don't have that many city caps available. So I'm now getting some concerns. I think the best possible move here, or the one which doesn't do no damage, is to go over here for 0 points. Ice Maze is saying self-blocking the city could be useful. Yeah, that is interesting. I think it doesn't quite work because there's still a splitter tile available, right? With which he could complete the city. So he does not want to restrict his options. And I believe Jānis found his strongest move, but he burned so much time on the clock. Krišs is now going to try to do something about this city. Or maybe he wants to invade the farm straight away. He's 7 points behind at the moment. I believe if Krišs manages to prevent Jānis from completing his city, he might even win without the field. This is probably what I would shoot for. Yeah, not sure. There's still 0 straight lines, if I remember correctly. There's 1 curve, a dagger, and no starting tiles. It seems that it might be agricultural o'clock for Krišs. I think we might have to just drop a farmer and hope for the best. So my idea here is that if we go here, we have decent chances to connect like this or like this through the last remaining curve. And by placing another city cap at the bottom, we'll give ourselves additional chances to try and prevent our opponent from finishing a city. And this is exactly what he's going to do. He goes for the farm. And now Jānis only needs to realize that he doesn't actually have to complete the city. He only has to score 7 extra points, which might be doable. It might be doable even if Krišs manages the field's connection. So if Jānis goes here, that's 2 points. Krišs connects. Then Jānis gets another horse and goes here, that's 3 points. Then maybe Jānis can get more city tiles and score a couple of extra. Or he can even build further and get a city cap and get himself meeple back. No, he chooses not to do that. Krišs is going to connect to the field. Jānis is banking on finishing that city. Krišs is now going to be ahead. Oh, yikes. By a lot. He's going to be ahead plus 11. So napalmeye actually does have to finish the city, and he was going to need to do it right now, and he's not able to do that. Oh, poor Jānis. I think he's going to lose this. He is going to lose this. Krišs now, of course, is going to try and block this here city. Jānis does complete it, but it is not going to be enough for him. It was a 6-point move. Jānis is going to need to score 5 points with his last tile. Is he going to lose by 1? No. He can win. He can win with a tie. Am I crazy? No, I don't think I'm crazy. 17. Jānis is -5. And if he manages to draw the last remaining horse tile, he can go over here and score 5 points, and there's nothing in the world that Krišs can do about it. Or he can go here and score 5 points. So this is it. This is for the game. Will Jānis get the last horse tile? Depending on what Jānis gets, he either is going to lose by 1 or tie the game, which will lead to a win. And he does. He gets the tile. He gonna go for 5 points. He still has 1 minute and 40 seconds to figure out one of the 2 places. 5 points over here at the bottom, and Jānis delivers a miracle. A monastery, normally a wonderful tile for Krišs, is just not gonna cut it for him. 0 extra points for Krišs, and Jānis manages to get this done. Have you just seen what happened on the board? What an endgame. What an endgame from napalmeye. He's saying, oh, so close. And napalmeye does win by a tie. And look at this. It was such a difficult decision. First of all, to place the last meeple to just try and get this here city. Then Krišs successfully connecting to the farm and then making the lead. And then Jānis resisting the temptation of the move that I was suggesting, realizing that just expanding the field is not, expanding the city is not enough. He needed to complete the city. He got the tile to complete the city, the last one possible. And just at the last moment, the shielded horse seals the deal. One of the most interesting games I've seen this autumn. Really? Okay, now I have to take some caffeine. And you know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna go get myself some hot beverages while the players are taking a rest. This is too much. All right, see you in 2 minutes, guys. Alrighty, we're back. I presume Game 3 has already started, and yes, it has started 1 minute ago. This is for all the marbles. 1 Jānis, 1 Krišs. Whoever wins this one becomes the Latvian champion of Online Carcassonne this year. Napalmeye with the starting player, it has already completed a 5-point road over here and dropped a blue farmer for a nice looking 3-point field, but with a lot of green squares and future potential. Krisna had managed to complete this 4-point city and also obstruct the monastery of Jānis over here. Some baby features still available on the board. This here 2-point road is something nice. And now the city on the left is trying to create a threat of a permanent block against this square. Blue finishes the city, starts a new one, and Krisna with a hugely important tile. This is going to give red quite a sizable advantage. So now this monastery is blocked. This meeple is never seeing the lights of day, and despite the fact that napalmeye has an advantage on the scoreboard, the fact that he lost so early, that he lost to meeple so early, is going to make very, very difficult for blue to hold this position together. Ideally, what blue wants to do is actually to get a meeple back, to try and block one of Krisna's meeples, perhaps. The reason why I'm saying this is that it is a horrible board texture to be playing on at a meeple disadvantage, because once a tile goes here, we have one big field. We don't really have places to build counter fields. So whenever blue wants to start a city, they're kind of forced to build in this here general area. And with the long-term meeple majority, Krisna is by far the favorite to win that field. But a reasonable chance for blue would be simply getting a couple of monasteries, because there's this lucrative 6-point monastery spot available over here, potentially 1-point monastery here, a 5-point monastery here as well. So a game is going to depend on that a lot. Krisna almost equalizes on the scoreboard by completing a second city. Jānis now with a chance to strike back at one of the meeples. Option 1, we go here. We start a new road, we try and obstruct the square. Option 2, we go here, start a new city, and try to bend our opponent's road into this here city. Option 1 seems to be slightly stronger, if you ask me, and I wouldn't really be considering any other moves if I'm blue. I don't really want to add this Dorito to my city, because that would reduce the quality of this here square. This is very nice and safe. I'm just going to be waiting for city caps and extenders. So let's see if blue finds anything interesting. And yes, this is in fact the move. A road meeple is getting deployed. Really, Jānis is on fire these last 2 games. Maybe that win, despite losing the road monastery, has made him believe in himself. Krišs now with a curvy tile. 3 options that I see. The default one is to connect to the field. This is the second option that he goes for, trying to protect his meeple whilst also getting 1 more point. That actually makes a lot of sense. And option 3 was going here, trying to disrupt this here square. Krisna with a shielded tile. He's going to start a new city somewhere. Maybe here. Maybe here. Sort of entering a winning mini battle against this here 2-point road. Yeah, this is exactly what he does. We see a meeple on the shielded tile promptly. This does give back a 3-point road, which is going to be quickly snatched by blue, also exposing a tiny vulnerability in this here city of red. But red's plan is to basically go like this. Field Dorito, then another field Dorito, and then finally a road Dorito that goes over here that allows red to complete the city without completing the road of blue. But blue keeps scoring quick points, as in already 11 points ahead on the scoreboard. which does give him enough chances to overcome his meeple disadvantage. Krisna with 4 points over here. The last 2 moves create a lot of volatility on the board, as the last road monastery will go nicely here for 8 points and a huge field expansion. Napalmeye now needs to find his best move now, which is not going over here. I know many players like to do stuff like this to break his opponent's city, but yes, exactly like this. He's now trying to block this square and also expose some sensitivities in this square. So basically this whole idea of red going over here with the Dorito and then setting up the road Dorito is not available anymore, because this square is now vulnerable. There are also some scenarios how a straight line goes here, this gets blocked, then a triple city goes here, this meeple gets freed, this here red city meeple gets tied to this blocked part of the ruin, and it's suddenly not red but blue who has the meeple majority. But all of that later. Krishna is just trying to decide how important this meeple is. I guess many players' knee-jerk reaction is to go here, try to go for indirect defense, but it is not really powerful because this can be easily blocked with a straight line. So as Reds, why would we do that? Krišs, what are you doing? This is not his style at all. Like, in addition to just being a mistake, because this is going to get blocked, this is also wasted monastery with 3 meeples available. Why wouldn't you just go over here? Or at the very least over here. What is Krišs doing with this? Like, he's playing as if somehow saving this meeple is of critical importance, but this is not true. We're just going to enter a position with an equal number of meeples, and if red just goes over here and builds up the monastery, he's going to have 9 points in no time, and he's just going to win. Yeah, look at this. Just look at this. So imagine a road monastery, a regular monastery here. Jānis would still go and block this square. Then Krishna could go over here and like meeple a new city, and that's it. He has a 7-point monastery and a threat to finish the city and drop a farmer. Just try to imagine these 2 tiles in this area and how much better Krish's position would have been. Instead, you know, he just does like a regular normal move with whatever that was. Napalmeye, yes, can go here and try to set up the block that I was describing earlier. So now this guy is never going to see the light of day as well, and we're entering a position with at least meeple equality. Blue has more things on the board, and by things I mean points. No, more points on the scoreboard, and it's just a better position for blue in every which way. Krishna can still win this, but it is now a much more uphill climb compared to what it would have been if there were a monastery over here. And Krishna basically decides to gamble again. He goes for a 6-point farm, and he's saying, me take 9-point monastery, me go here, me take 9 points. This is his plan. And it might as well work. So Jānis is absolutely apprehensive about this. He drops a farmer to equalize, and then if Krishna does get the 9 points, then he will invade the farm, but so will blue. Krishna is now trying to be as efficient as possible, starting a new city at the top. Napalmeye probably going to go here and try and break it, unless he chooses to go here and try and block this here meeple, because yeah, red hasn't really entered the field just yet, which is quite interesting. There are of course still a gazillion tiles that fit into that square to complete that connection, but it is important not to forget about that forever, because games have been lost that way, even at the highest level. Craft Giraffe is asking, Alexey doesn't compete in this competition. No, the reason I don't compete in this competition is because, well, the first prize is participation in the Carcassonne Champions League, and I already have a place in the Carcassonne Champions League. And in generally, I much prefer commenting to playing. Alrighty, Krišs taking 2 quick points, almost equalizing on the scoreboard. Jānis with an interesting tile. Not an obvious place for it. So we could do one of the several things. We could just go over here, equalize this here meeple, which is a bit weak. I don't like that. There are even some scenarios how our opponent draws a splitter and they get a meeple back and we lose one. Maybe we just go here and drop a farmer like this. Because the farm is looking very good. We're still going to have the meeple majority temporarily. We can invade here or here. That is quite nice. Instead, Jānis chooses to equalize the city at the top, which I think is just not that strong. And what does Krišs gonna do? Of course, he's not gonna go here. He's not gonna give a meeple back to blue. What instead he's gonna do, he's gonna go here. I think it is his strongest move available to him. And he's going to add 2 points to his ruin. He's going to block the square, and he's going to try and enter a winning mini battle where he can add city tiles to his blocked meeple, whereas this blocked road of blue is capped at 2 points. An alternative, of course, is scoring 2 points here or here, but I just don't see how that would be remotely better. Maybe if we take 2 quick points over here, there's some option of getting a Dorito and another Dorito and this. And I think this is what Krišs is going for. So the idea of these 2 points is that maybe in the future, Red's going to be able to go here and here and here and take advantage of this tile in the future. But this allows now napalmeye to get a meeple back. It is not obvious, however, whether he should take it. So this, of course, is super, super nice if we take a meeple back. But it will also give our opponents a lot of points. We will be getting 1 point for a road, and our opponent will be getting 5 points for a city. Now, the question is, what's more valuable, meeple or 5 points? And I think meeple. I think a meeple is still more valuable. Moreover, we can go here and we can even drop a farmer, making sure that if our opponent gets a road monastery, then they connect 1 farmer of his own and 2 farmers of blue into this square. But Jānis chooses not to make content moves, just 2 quick road points, which could end up not so great for Jānis eventually. Well, one thing that I'm slightly concerned about is that maybe here and here and here and here are possible moves. And basically there are scenarios how Red managed to take advantage of these here shielded tiles dropped around. His 3-point city turns into a 12-point city and so on and so on. But I can also understand the desire of Jānis just not to give his immediate points to his opponent. But I believe on this board, a meeple is really, really important. Krišs finishes a city, starts a new one. And there we go. No, 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 Jānis, what are you doing? I don't like this move one bit. I thought he would drop a farmer. I don't know, like, this is not bad necessarily, but blue is just playing a bit too liberally with his meeples. I felt like it wasn't super important to prevent the completion of Red City, but whatever. Blue gets an 8-point monastery, which is lovely for him. He also gets the majority on the field, but now Jānis does not have any meeples in hand. So he ASAP needs to draw some sort of a city plus road tile to get a meeple back, and it is in fact his only source of ever getting a meeple back. And he can't really score whilst he is waiting for that meeple retrieval. Yeah, Krišs finally blocked that critical square. I think it was a miss. Yeah, and now this is where the loss to value is going to start to occur. Because you see, blue didn't get the meeple back with this tile. Blue didn't want to pay the points, but now blue is going to pay the points regardless. Okay, this move is fine, but then it does bring in this red farmer into the field, which is still fine because we have the majority on the field, but the majority is not going to last forever if our opponent gets the road monastery. So, and also we score 1 point for this tile instead of 2 points, which we could have scored for the road. Just imagine how better our position could have been if only we were to have a meeple in hand. Rustam is saying he could have placed the return meeple on his monastery. Yes, agreed. On this monastery, or on this monastery for that matter, or on something like this and this monastery. But I think I understand what's going on. Like, I understand why Jānis was making this mistake, because at the time of that move, he was ahead in meeples. He was ahead in meeples, and so he felt like, oh, it's not that important to get myself one more meeple because I have more meeples anyway. But when we assess positions like this, we need to disregard the temporarily placed meeples and only look at the permanently placed meeples. And in fact, 2 meeples of Krishna, which were here and here, were going to get back into his hands anyway. And so long-term, Jānis had no meeple advantage at the time, and if he were to go over here, he would in fact have a meeple advantage. So yeah, that is a strategic decision which could cost him the game. So I think both players have exchanged one sizable mistake. Krisna by choosing to ignore the wonderful monastery that he drew, and Jānis not getting a meeple back, trying to be a bit stingy with points. Still an equal position, and Krisna is now thinking hard where to deploy this curve. However, I'm starting to get concerned if he has lost his connection or not. Because what's this, like minus 25? No, he finally got his connection back. And look at this move. I'm loving this move by Krishna. Yeah, he's saying that he's getting lags and he's trying to refresh the screen once in a while. So this move by red is wonderful. Even though it gives 1 point in the short term, it asks a very, very serious question to this here guy. It's basically trying to get a tile that goes here and makes almost a permanent block. Yikes and sheesh. Sheesh and yikes, will you look at that. So first of all, Jānis is going to love that he drew this road monastery. This means that Krišs is not going to get the 9 points, and also Krišs is not going to get this field connection over here. Although certain things are possible. Let's see how that ends up happening. There are 2 tiles that left to fit into the square, just as this guy was going to go here. Jānis is trying to grow his field, and technically this red guy can actually still connect to the field either like this or like this. Jānis with a regular monastery cannot meeple it because he doesn't have any meeples. And Krishna with a splitter, not really much to do other than continuing his city. Also note how this here tile is another attempt at the crawling technique, and I think it would be completely just karmic retribution if red were to able to get a tile here and a tile here and eat up those here squares regardless. Jānis successfully defends this square, which is huge, and also it is quite useful that it is a curve, and like a curve with a city not supposed to something else. It still makes it difficult for this red guy, not impossible, but difficult for this red guy to connect over here. But in the meantime, red is just trying to make his 6-point farmer worth his salt, as it already has turned into a 9-point farmer, 7-point lead on the scoreboard, an open city cap. Potential field expansion might make it so that red can even survive without having to invade the main field. Red has the points for the ruin here, now scoring more for the road, leaving a lot of tiles to be picked up, lots of points to be picked up. A starting tile drawn by Krisna, who gets even more quick points. Jānis not able to complete his monastery soon enough. Straight line for Jānis, not a great tile. The field has grown to sizable proportions. 5 completed cities for 15 points, but this also leaves many invasion opportunities. Dagger tile for Krisna, which he could use in a variety of ways. He could go for field attack straight up. I don't think he needs that. He can either add 1 point over here or try and do something like this and then use another straight line, of which there's still 3 remaining, to connect his farmer to this little field at the bottom. Try to expand the value of this here agricultural professional to 12 points. Yeah, Crafter is saying blue missed so much value for not having that one meeple. Yeah, also, and this value definitely missed. It definitely exceeds 1 point. It definitely exceeds 5 points, sorry. Because first of all, 2 missed points from the crossroads. Then there was whatever, there was another crossroads. Like, there was city cap. There was just a bunch of things. There was this thing. And he's also going to miss 6 points if he's going to get the starting tile and complete the monastery. He does not have a meeple to take this 4-point road. But one good thing for blue is that there's still 4 Dorito tiles available on the board, which he is going to use over here to finish shared city and give both sides a meeple back. This, of course, will allow Krishna some field attacking opportunities, but if Jānis manages to fend those away, then with the draw of the starting tile, he'll be able to score 6 points and, of course, get the 9 points from this tier guy to his scoreboard. So still playable position for Jānis, but Krisna is just chipping away at that scoreboard. 1 match remaining on his clock. I think some technical issues is what he's experiencing. Napalmeye now is going to miss more points for not being able to complete a city. Krisna now with some interesting options. So I see 3. Option 1, we go here and get 1 point. Option 2, we go here and we get 0 points, but we create a 50-50 chance of drawing the last triple city tile to connect to that area and get ourselves these additional points for our ruin. Krisna goes for the simple approach. I'm just going to list the 2 other options. There was this here idea, setting up a 4-point road, which I liked, or this here idea, trying to set up a back-to-back backdoor connection through multiple tiles like this, which Jānis is now trying to prevent, also trying to prevent the growth of his field. Krisna with a Dorito tile again, not allowing for Jānis to get a meeple back. Probably going to opt for 1 ruin point, unless he figures it's time to go for this here 9-point field. No, not yet. Napalmeye now can go over here. This would permanently block the square, not allowing the expansion of this here farmer through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Oh yeah, through the 0 remaining curves, so I guess it doesn't matter really that much. And Krisna again with another Dorito tile. Jānis can't catch a break in this one, and I assume 2 further points are going to be added to the gigantic ruin of red. Jānis with a city cap tile, which he cannot use productively except going over here. Will he find that move? This would be a good move because this would not allow Krisna to get the triple city tile and the Dorito combo to take advantage of these here 4 points lying around. He does not notice it, but this is a reasonable move still, dropping a city cap in his field, making sure that this here field connection platform doesn't work. But Krisna does get the last remaining triple city tile, and he's now going to go over here and expand his ruin, and now to try to get those additional points and try to win without the field, which I believe should be quite easily possible at this stage. Well, I'm not sure about easily, but possible. The score, the overall score at the roll is equalish, but the fact that Krisna does have a meeple in hand and napalmeye doesn't look like it could be decisive. Basically, the rundown of it is that Krisna has 14 points extra on the scoreboard, like 12-ish points extra from the city compared to this road. Napalmeye has 6 points from the field because he has a 15-point field compared to a 9-point field of Krisna, and of course these 16 points from Monastery, so that's like 22. Yeah, Jānis is behind a couple of points. I guess he has a couple extra here from these here cities, and which eventually could turn into something more if he gets a Dorito tile and finishes a shared city in his field, which he absolutely now must draw. Very easy move for napalmeye, which wasn't it, I think. I think we needed to go over here to try and prevent our opponent from drawing. Oh, wait. Where are they? There are no Doritos anymore. How did we run out of Doritos so quick? Krisna just drew all of them. So wait, is there really nothing that fits into the square? I think so. Isn't that interesting? Well, Krisna gets himself the last starting tile. So Jānis is not going to get himself a meeple back. And I believe that Krisna should have enough now. Yeah, he drops a farmer. Jānis gets himself 3 points extra for his field by finishing a city on it. And Krisna gets himself... Oh, there is a Dorito afterwards. After all. Huh. So, napalmeye is able to score a couple of points extra by finishing another city on his field. And... quite unlucky for Krisna, this was the worst tile for him, because either this dagger or this Dorito would have expanded his field from 6 points to 9 points, but napalmeye is saying congratulations regardless, so I think Krisna has eked out a win by a couple of points. I didn't quite calculate precisely. I think that 6-point field should be enough. Let's just see what that final score is. 21-point field for the ultimately, and 15 points for Krisna, leaving him with a 2-point win. Again, very close game, but I felt that after this here block, which was absolutely clutch sequence from Krisna, he had the game pretty much under control. Of course, quite unfortunate for Jānis that he didn't really get back meeples earlier, but it all comes down to that one mistake where Blue had a chance to get a meeple back, but got stingy, didn't want to pay 5 points for it, and instead ended up paying with many, many more points and ultimately the game. Yeah, and napalmeye is saying that all the time he... well, he's just saying the exact same thing, that he should have taken a meeple back with the first horse. Yeah. And he's choosing quite a facetious choice of words in Latvian. Saying that, you know, he didn't want to give away the 5 points, but ultimately Krisna was able to gain many, many more regardless. And Krisna is saying Yeah, and Krishna is saying both that Jānis should have recovered the meeple at that time, and then that on the previous move, Krishna should have placed a tile in order to not allow such a meeple recovery. Yeah, because remember the two horses were drawn back to back. So first of all, Krishna took 2 points here instead of blocking the square, and Jānis did not take advantage of that opportunity and did not take a meeple black. Oh, there's also an interesting psychological phenomenon. He said, well, if Krišs is not blocking, then I'm not gonna be in a rush. Maybe I can do it later with a shieldless horse. But it was a little bit too late. Yeah, I like only Latvians will understand this, but napalmeye has a very creative choice of words for like everything. Yeah, Tommaso is saying that all of those Doritos for Krishna was such bad luck for napalmeye. On one hand, yes. On the other hand, napalmeye did get decent tiles with which he could use in the vacuum. And then a Dorito for napalmeye would not have guaranteed him the win. Because we need to remember that outrunning the main field is not the only Krishna's possible win condition. Let's say napalmeye gets this one like 5 moves earlier. He gets a meeple back. Suddenly, Krishna has 2 meeples instead of 1, and then he like goes here for a 6-point field and tries to attack the field of napalmeye. So that could already be enough. And then Jānis would either need to spend resources to defend, or he would just like lose the field entirely. And then these 6 points might even be enough for Krishna. Also, we need to remember that the fact that napalmeye got his Dorito on his last turn was actually, in a way, good for napalmeye as well. Because when he gave a meeple back to himself and to Krishna, because it was the last tile of the game, Krishna was not able to deploy his newest meeple for at least 6 points over here. So this is also something to consider. Hi napalmeye. Commiserations on your loss, but I have to say that second game was an absolute masterpiece. So we wish you best of luck in the international qualifiers, which I'm sure if you play like you played in the second game, you're gonna nail. But yeah, I agree with your comments largely that the game was kind of winnable until the end. Alrighty. I think that should be enough for now, but not for today, because first of all, let's just look again at the results of the Latvian Championship. So Krisna is our champion and goes straight to the main stage of the Carcassonne Champions League. napalmeye second place and Norbert third place. They go to the international qualifiers. So still technically a chance to have up to 4 Latvian players competing. Hi Krišs, congratulations on your win. Krišs is saying, I felt like taking the city at the end of the second game was a mistake. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Like, I think blue is still quite a favorite to win. And the idea of blue in the second game, I wonder if I still have open. Do I still have it open? No, that's the first game. Yeah, that's the second game. Let's just have a look at this for a second. So, the idea of blue is obviously to outrun. And in some situations, if blue gets blocked, then blue can just score points and stuff, and then maybe not allow red to enter the field and then win the game that way. So, at that point, like, Jānis felt kept his win condition flexible until the very, very end. And of course, at the end of the game, like, he got wonderful tiles in the exact order that he needed. But then if he got different tiles, then, for example, if he got a curve, then he could afford to lose his city, because this guy would have never made it into the field. So I felt like that decision was reasonable. And there's also another problem, like, if Jānis doesn't do anything, then Krisna can still win without the field, maybe, by just scoring quick points. That was 4 already. Yeah, imagine if Jānis doesn't do anything. Like, with this here tile, he does this move, which makes some sense, right? It's just because it eliminates field attacking options. Or, yeah. So he goes here. Then Krishna gets the city cap, he takes 4 points over here. Suddenly Krishna's at -3. Then, with all the 3 horses available, Krishna now suddenly has an opportunity to score 3 points here, and more points here, and more points here. And then suddenly Jānis could be in the situation where he needs to attack the field. So I don't think it was a mistake. I'm not sure if it was like the single strongest move, but it is one that is entirely reasonable and could very well be correct. Yeah, the thing with this pre-endgame situation is that a lot of kind of basic heuristics about the game, they just don't apply, and it's more about like more precise calculation. So, but anyway, if Jānis is still here, I would be curious to hear if your logic about meepling that city was something similar to mine that I just said, or different. Let me just scroll through the chat a little bit more. Rustam is asking, will there be more games? Well, not in the Latvian Championship. Yes, I haven't finished about this. Well, actually, I'm just going to say right now that tonight we're going to have a big night. We might have up to 10 more games of Carcassonne today, because at 9 p.m. UTC, which is 3 hours from now, I'm going to show you both semifinals, back-to-back semifinals of the Chilean National Online Carcassonne Championships, and those are not best of 3, but best of 5. So make sure to subscribe for that so that you get the notification, and I'll see you in 3 hours. But let me just read the chat a little bit more. So we addressed the thing with the city. Oh yeah, napalmeye. So the question was, when you were meepling this here city with your last meeple, what was your logic? Was it similar to what I had said, or did you have like additional considerations? So I assume the main idea was to just try and outrun the farmer. If red were to invade the field, then if blue completes the city, then blue can sometimes just win on points, if that was the idea. Or if your goal was maybe to prevent red from meepling the city himself. Yeah, that's also a consideration, because again, like, if blue does nothing, then red can get the rose tile, go here, get the vanilla city cap, go here, and then suddenly red gets 10 points extra, putting blue at -3. And then blue has fewer scoring opportunities than red, because red has this here square available for him. So, yeah, could get dicey. So yeah, same idea, just to keeping the win condition flexible. All right, enough for the game analysis. Well, the third one with this here fateful square we already discussed, and Krishna taking advantage of that. Then that's gonna be it. See you again in 3 hours for the semifinals of the Chilean Championships. It should be very interesting, and they even, if we just go here, they even rated those games as 5 stars, just like today. So this is based on the rating of the of both players and how close the ratings are to each other. And until then, have a good break, have a meal, have a walk. And thank you all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.